To my brand new show, NFL All Access. I'm your host, Jack Esco, and today in the show we're going to talk about how poorly the NFL has managed the Jim Irsay debacle and why hasn't he been punished right now. And also we're going to finally talk about the casinos, NFL wins for each team. I'm going to tell you how many wins they're projected, and I'm going to tell you if it's going to be over, under, or even, right at that number they predicted. So, let's get started. So, it was a couple months ago that Jim Irsay was arrested for DUI and possession of drugs in the vehicle. And he was convicted of a felony, and they have still not done anything about it. And more this is turning out, to be a owners league. It's sad when you think about it. Robert Mathis, an Indianapolis Colts player, ironically, also was suspended. I mean, he was suspended for having fertility drugs to try to have another child for his for the ailing grandmother. And to be suspended for a game for something like that and not do anything with Jim Irsay is a little bit sad. And it's not right. And more you're seeing it become an owner league, and this is an example why. It's not right. They said in the latest collective bargaining agreement for the NFL that owners would be set to a higher standard than players because they are the face of that team, and they have not been. Right now I've not seen that they are treated to a higher standard. If Jim Irsay, is still, what I've heard was in the war room during the draft. Really? Do you really think somebody making big mistakes like that should have been allowed in the NFL draft war room? No. He shouldn't have been in any off-season activities at all after this had transpired. And I think was a terrible mistake by the NFL not to do something quick, and they just didn't. It's just, when a NFL player gets in trouble, they just immediately act like that, and they'll go over the limit sometimes when it comes to suspending somebody, like Robert Mathis with his fertility drugs. He was just trying to get another baby for his grandmother before she passes away. Now, it also was on Robert Mathis because he didn't notify the league that was a banned drug in the substance abuse policy in the NFL. So it's partly his fault and partly the league for not, notifying that he was only trying to make a baby. And, I just don't like how this is going. Players have been suspended for a lot weaker stuff. And Irsay did some terrible, terrible things, and just slap on the wrist. Or not even nothing yet. But my guess, he might even just get slapped on the wrist, or nothing. Because it's such an owner league now that they say they should be treated to a higher standard, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it, and nor will I see it. And to see what NBA did with Donald Sterling. Now, I am by no means comparing this to what Donald Sterling did. However, in the NBA, they do it right. They hold their owners to a higher standard, and they actually show it by banning him for life in the NBA, finding him the most allowed. Doing those things shows me that they hold the owners to a higher standard. they're not holding the NFL owners to a higher standard if they still haven't done anything about this Jim Irsay thing. So, now let's move on to the NFL 2014 regular season wins. Here's the paper that I have off. I got this from the Fiesta Henderson Casino. These are their projected win for each team. And I'm going to tell you if it's going to be over, under, or just at the right wins that they have for the team. So let's get started at the top and work our way down. We have the Denver Broncos at 11.5 wins. Now, obviously, that will not be even since you can't get a half win. But I see that being over, and here's why. The Broncos made a lot of moves in the offseason, really rebuilding their defense because their defense was atrocious last year, and Peyton Manning was bailing them out just like he did in Indianapolis. Terrible defense, and he would always, bail them out. And their offense got better. They drafted a phenomenal wide receiver who not a lot of people know, from IU. He only dropped one pass all year. The highest catch percentage out of all the wide receiver draft prospects. And he won this early second round. And my first reaction when he got drafted was, I guess, to risk it richer with wide receivers. They got rid of Eric Decker, that whole debacle with the reality show and, whatever. And they have Wes Welker, Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, a great receiving core. And their defenses improved mightily with Aqib Talib, Wesley Woodard left. There's some departures there that will deter them. So, with 11.5 wins, not to forget, they also signed DeMarcus Ware from the Cowboys because they had released DeMarcus Ware and the Broncos picked them up. So two big signings for the Broncos in the defense, Aqib Talib and Ware. So at 11.5, I'll take the over. But I wouldn't bet my house on it, but it's a good bet. It's between. I definitely would be sweating bullets over it, but I wouldn't be betting my house. Like, I'm so sure that it's gonna almost happen. It's like almost a lock. So it's kind of in between there. I would kind of bet right in between there. I'd bet a car or something like that. The Seattle Seahawks are next. Over or under 11 wins. I'll take the over. And here's why. They haven't had really a lot of drama in the offseason. They had the divorce of Russell Wilson, but that just was going to make them more focused. And now that, they kept their core with Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas and players like that, they didn't really lose any of their key guys. They lost Golden Tate, but he wasn't really a key guy on the offense. They drafted Paul Richardson in the draft, a wide receiver from Colorado, so he's going to replace Golden Tate, so that's not going to be a problem. And Russell Wilson had said that he believes that this is one of the fastest wide receiving cores in the leagues. Every quarterback's going to say that. They're not going to say, "Oh my gosh, this receiving core is so slow." But of course, he's going to boost up his team. But from what I've seen of Paul Richardson in college, he is a flat burner. He was the only good player on their team. But, he was really good. Now, if I'd bet, going on our diagram, would I bet, or our table, house, car, money. House being absolutely sure it's a lock. Car, in between. And money, you're not that sure at all. I would bet the I'd bet money. And here's why. I'm a little shaky on it. I will take the over, but I'm not 100% sure on it because that NFC West is just so tough. And it keeps on getting tougher and tougher. So they might just win 11 wins and you'll be screwed. But a part of me is still taking the over. But I'm not that, it's not a lock is what I'm saying. So be very wary of betting the over on the Seahawks for 11 wins. Next, we have the New England Patriots at 10.5 wins. I like the under. I definitely like the under. And here's why. The Patriots, they've gone through some tough times. They let go of their bruiser running back, LeGarrette Blount, who's now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was their driving force of their team in the later weeks of last season. He was just a bulldozer. Now LeGarrette Blount will be fit probably well with the whole power run of the Steelers. The Patriots are getting older in the tooth, and Tom Brady isn't getting any younger. And if I would bet, house, car, or money, I'd bet car, right in between. It's not fully locked, but it's right in between. And that's where I'm going with that. Next up, we got the San Francisco 49ers. They're also at 10.5, and I like the over. And here's why. San Francisco 49ers, they had one of the best drafts I've seen in a while. Now, I'm one of those people who watched the whole draft. I know, I'm weird like that. But I watched from round 1 to round 7. I try to watch as much of the draft as I can. So when I watch the NFL, I can, oh yeah, I saw that guy drafted in the 7th round. I can see these hidden gems. And that's why I think it's so fun about the draft. But anyway, I was watching the draft and everybody was just ratting and raving on how great their draft was. They drafted such a great team, and they just drafted so well, drafting gems in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and they all went on need. They got a backup running back for Frank Gore, Carlos Hyde. I know they have LaMichael James. They're probably going to get rid of him, or they're going to, just keep him as a returner. But there's a lot of running backs now that have to vie for some touches. You got Frank Gore, Kendall Hunter, Carlos Hyde, So Carlos Hyde's going to probably be the 3rd running back in there, and Michael James is the out man out. They got some really good pieces that I really liked, and I think they were really good for what they needed to get past the Seahawks. And I couldn't be happier with the job they did in that draft. It was just, they're just picking players that were still on the board, and you're going, why are they still here? And then the Niners are on the board, and oh, okay, they're gonna pick them because that's just what they did. Any sleeper that was on the board, they'd pick up, and they did a great job of doing that. And I'll take the over. Also, because Colin Kaepernick has evolved as a quarterback. Last year, he did a great job of putting touch on the ball. He was drafted as a pitcher, for the Chicago Cubs, and he has a cannon, absolute cannon. And in the Super Bowl, when he went there, it was a 4th down, and he needed to put some loft on the ball to get it to Crabtree, and he just threw a bullet And after that season, I saw a lot of touch last year. And I just think I'm going to keep on improving as a quarterback. Now, a lot of friends of mine and family will let you know that I'm the number one Kaepernick fan in his fan club. I just, love Kaepernick. I've loved him ever since he was went to college, and I've just loved him. Loved his playing style, and just loved him. And I can still remember telling my friends, he's going to be something real big, and they ignored me, and they said, oh, we were talking about Ryan Mallett's the guy, and, because joke's on you, because he's doing pretty well now. Right, where's Ryan Mallett now? Third string, that's right. All right, sorry to get, so yeah, over on that. And again, doing the house, car, money thing, I'd bet I bet a car. I'd bet a car. Imaginary car, how sure I am that I would win the bet is because Colin Kaepernick has always been improving. They had the best draft by far in the draft, and they've had a really good offseason. They got Stevie Johnson in the draft from the Buffalo Bills, so they know what they're doing. And I'd bet a car. I'm in between, almost a lock, but not quite. So take the over on that. All right, next we got the Green Bay Packers at 10.5 wins. The Packers, they had a bad season last year. They made it to the wild card round, but that's not what they really wanted. They wanted to go to the Super Bowl. Doesn't every team? But the injury to Aaron Rodgers really derailed them. Let's face it, when you don't have Aaron Rodgers, you're kind of hopeless. And that is a very tough division. Say what you will, but take away the Vikings, and that's a very tough division. And, you got the Bears in that division, the Lions, and what's the other team? What's that other team? Oh, whatever. It's a 3-team division, all right? I know there's 4, but it's a 3-team race. It's going to be a 3-team race for a couple years now, for years to come. Now, I know there's Teddy Bridgewater in there, and he might surprise us this year. He might, but I don't see him really surprising us this year. So for right now, for the next couple years, 2-3 years, it's going to be a 3-team division. And for that reason, oh man, this kills me. But I'm going to take the under. I know it's going to shock some people, but I'm going to take the under. Because I just don't like their defense. Their defense was a big problem last year. I know there were some injuries, but I just did not like their defense. And, it's turning into the Indianapolis Colts when Peyton was there. Every time we have to bail them out because their defense was so terrible. And I know you have Clay Matthews, but he's very injury prone. Very injury prone. And if I would do a house, car, money thing, I would go car. Right a little bit in between, almost house, almost money, in between there, and I'd go car. Not quite all the way, a little bit in between, and there's the Packers on that. Next up, we got the New Orleans Saints. They had a little rocky season last year. They were up, they were down, up, down, but they managed to make it to the playoffs with Sean Payton coming back. They had a good year, and I'm sorry, I didn't mention what their wins are. Their wins is projected at 9.5 wins, and I am going over. And here's why. You have the Panthers, who are probably going to take a step back with the Panthers being so stupid and getting rid of pretty much all the talent that Camden has to throw to. Steve Smith, really good receiver. Bye. Brandon LaFell, he was a good number 2, number 3 receiver for Cam Newton. Gone with the Patriots. So, who does Cam Newton have to throw to? Tackling dummies? It's ridiculous how little help he got in free agency and the draft. I know they drafted wide receiver, but it still doesn't make up for the losing those 2 receivers in the offseason. And the Buccaneers, they're in a rebuilding period. Made some good moves in the draft. The Falcons, they're going to get some players back. So I like the over to go right at 10. Right at 10. The 9.5 is a good number because you can play. You can do some playing around. Up there at the top with 11.5 and 10. You can't really play with those numbers. You can't really play because that doesn't give you that much room. That much room to wiggle. You can't really lose that many with 12.5 or 11. But with 9.5, you have some wiggle room there for some losses. I mean, you can't lose all the games, but you can lose some and still get you at 10. You can lose 6 games and still win your bet. So if we're doing the house, car, money thing, I'd go house. Yeah, this is a definite lock for the reasons I had just said. You have some wiggle room there. You have a 9.5. You can lose some couple games. So that's the Saints. Now we have my team, the Colts, 9.5. I definitely like the over, and here's why. Andrew Luck. I mean, what can you say? He is an absolute becoming of a legend. I know there will be some Luck haters commenting, going, "Oh my gosh, he's not a legend yet," but he's definitely coming there. I always tell people that I never get worried, no matter how many points the Colts are down. It could be 50 points, 56. I wouldn't worry one bit. Now we might lose the game, but I wouldn't be worried knowing that we might, this is gonna be a blowout because Andrew Luck's on my team. If you guys saw, most of you did, the wild card game the Colts came back from. Unbelievable what he did. The second biggest comeback in playoff history. And he just has that poise of what Ron Jaworski, Jaws, on ESPN. He says that he has, quote, amnesia. And I couldn't agree with him more. If he throws an interception, it's just gone. It's out of his mind, and he just focuses on the next play. And that's what quarterbacks need. But some of them don't have that because some of them just dwell on the recent mistakes that they made, and that's what screws them up. But Luck really doesn't dwell on his recent mistakes, and that's what makes him so great. I apologize for gushing over my team so much, but it's my team, I didn't appreciate them giving up a first-round pick for Trent Richardson, but he lost 15 pounds in the offseason. He was 230 pounds. That's too much for a running back. So he went down to 215, so hopefully he can be a slimmer, faster running back this year. Now, I definitely love the over. And doing the house car money, I go house. It's a lock. Lock it up. Get the keys. Buy the house. It's a lock. It is a definite lock. If you're going to go somewhere, I definitely bet the Colts. If it's still 9.5, you better hurry before it goes up to 10, because with the Saints and with any other of the good teams, you have that wiggle room. If it's a shame that this casino didn't make more mistakes on this card right here, because you have two good teams here. They're at 9.5. Now I'm looking down here, and there's no other 9.5 teams that are, or no other 9 or 9.5 teams that are elite, that you could definitely see them winning over 9 or 9.5 or 10 games. That's like a house bet. That's definitely a lock. You can't see that. So they definitely made two mistakes here, giving you enough wiggle room to win the bet. Now, we move on to the iffy tweener. So you will no longer be singing. I take that back. You'll be seeing a couple more house calls here, if you say, for how sure I am with the bet. But not very few, not very often, not that much of a house. So we have the Cincinnati Bengals at 9. Boy, whew, that is very, very shaky. I do not like the 9. Immediately I'm going money. I don't care if it's over or under or even. It's definitely money. I would, I'm not sure about it at all, so I would stay away. I wouldn't really want to bet it, but this is what I'm calling. Man, I go even. Yeah, I go even. And here's why. The Bengals made some good moves in the offseason. They had a pretty good draft, and they just fell in the playoffs. They just fell. They choked. Andy Dalton's getting a little bit better. AJ Green. Their defense is really good. An ESPN colleague, Colin Cowherd, who I listened to, had said this statement about the Bengals, and he said, the Bengals are a team that does a lot of things good, but nothing great. And I couldn't agree more with what he said. They do a lot of things good, but they do nothing great. And that is a example of a 9-win team. And I would definitely stay away from that. I'm going money. I wouldn't even look at that bet. I wouldn't even think about putting anything on that game or on that team. I beg your pardon, because that's AFC North. It could go either way. It could be a surprise year for the Steelers. Who knows? Next, we got the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, they had a surprise year this year. They're at 9 wins. Now, they had a surprise year this year, or last year. Nick Foles came in for a concussed Michael Vick, and they just flew the Eagles to the playoffs. They won the last game of the season to put them in the playoffs, and they did a good job. A lot of people were calling for Chip Kelly's head in the middle of the season. Oh my gosh, what is he doing? This is terrible. There was rumors that he was going back to Oregon, but obviously that is no longer true, since he is staying in Philadelphia, and he likes it there, and they let go of Deshaun Jackson, but they got Josh Huff from Oregon, Chip Kelly's guy. They got some pieces now that they can do something with. It's at 9 wins. I'll take the over. And I will bet money. So I'm not really that confident on it, because when it's very, very tricky to grade the NFC East. You don't know which teams it's a very inconsistent division. Some teams rise, some teams fall. Who knows? There might be a surprise team in that division. I have to find out who that is in the upcoming win totals that we have. Next up, we got the Baltimore Ravens. Now, like I said, I would stay far away as I could from the AFC East. No, I'd say the AFC North. Because that's a bloodbath. You don't know what in the world is going to come to be a part of that draft, or be a part of those teams. You don't know. You have no idea what's going to happen. It's a crapshoot. People losing left, losing right, and there are 8.5 games, and that scares the living crap out of me. I would definitely go. I wouldn't say definitely, because the next two AFC North teams, I'm going money. So I'm not very sure on them. But I'd go over for the Ravens, but I'm not very confident about it, so I'd stay away from it. But I guess I have to make a pick. And you know what? I will take the Steelers, the over. And I know I said I'd take money on the Ravens and the Steelers, but I'm going to change that to Carr. And here's why. The Steelers have slowly progressed to have a very young defense. Last year they went all defense. This year they went all defense. They got Ryan Shazier from Ohio State in the first round. They made some good moves. And I just think they have a very good chance to be a surprise team in the AFC this year. So look out for them. I take the over on betting the house. A car. Take the over. The Atlanta Falcons are up. 8.5 wins as well. And I will take the over. And here's why. They got Matt Ryan. Julio Jones is coming back. They were just killed with injuries. Just killed. Their defense was terrible. They lost a lot of players on defense. But all those players are coming back. It's like they have a brand new team this year. But they didn't really sign anybody new. What is a brand new team? You know, you got Julio Jones, Matt Ryan. Gonzalez is gone. You know, that's a big thing. Gonzalez is gone. You know, your red zone target is gone. But they just get more touches for Jones and Roddy White and all those players. So I will take the over, and I'm going with a house. Lock it up. No. I take it back. I'll go with a car. I'm somewhat for sure that's going to be over 8.5. Next up, we got the Carolina Panthers, and as you heard before, earlier in my regular season win total, when I was talking about the Saints, I was saying, the Panthers and, Panthers might regress. So here's my details on the Panthers regressing. They got rid of a lot of their wide receivers that Cam Newton likes to throw to. Steve Smith and Brandon LaFell. And, I know Luke Kuechly is a stud on defense and all that, but part of me, they got rid of Dominic Hickson from the Panthers as well. But, there's always that team in the AFC South that always goes under expectations. And this year, I think it's going to be the Panthers. Last year was the Falcons, but it was probably because of injuries. This year I think it's going to be the Panthers. And I'm going to bet under. And I'm going to bet the house on it. You can lock it up that they'll go under 8.5 wins. Now we have the Bears. And this looks like the only house bet left on this with the teams remaining. This bet is as easy money with the teams remaining that you'll make. The easiest team with 8.5 wins on their, projected wins that you'll make. The Bears, they did great last year, and I'm definitely going to pick the over. The only thing that hindered them was Jay Cutler. Their defense was bad. It was terrible. They fixed that, adding some players in the offseason. I think this will be a very, very good team. Over. You can lock it up, throw away the keys, because it is a house bet right there. That is my only for sure bet for now on. That's it. That's all. All the for sure bets are now gone. You're going to see a lot of house and money bets from now on. So now we have the Detroit Lions. What can I say about the Lions? They really know how to underachieve, don't they? With Shorts and Gunther Cunningham. Man, they should have gotten rid of them a lot sooner because they were terrible. Schwartz was a terrible, terrible coach, and Cunningham was a terrible, terrible coordinator. And every year you think this is their year. They always can underachieve. They always will make you feel like you never should have bet them. And this should be the year that they continue to do that. I had you going. I had you thinking that I was turning the page in the Lions, like I was, turning a leaf, like, oh my gosh, No. Because the coach that they hired is the same coach that did terrible things for the Colts. He was atrocious. Jim Caldwell. Oh my goodness, he was terrible. I had thoughts. Oh my gosh, he's in the Tony Dungy tree. He's gonna do wonders. No, far from it. Far from it. He later got canned, and the rest is history for us now. But the Lions will learn that, and then they'll pick an actual grown-up head coach who can actually coach teams. So I'm taking the under, but it's going to be a house. And here's why. With Matthew Stafford, Eric Ebron, who they drafted, tight end from North Carolina, who they've compared to, Jimmy Graham, Antonio Gonzalez, or Antonio Gates sort of deal. More of a receiver tight end than a blocker. With Eric Ebron, Pettigrew, and a defense that is improving, you never do know what's going to happen. So even though I am taking the under, they could surprise you and go over. So I'm not that quite confident on it, but I am, it's a little bit in between. Let me change that to a money. I'm not confident on it at all, so I'd stay away from that 8.5. Now we have the Dallas Cowboys. Ooh, the Cowboys. They're at 8 wins. That's such a casino bet because you can only go over or under. I'm only saying over, under, even, just so just to make it easier on me. It's such a casino move because if you go, they've had 3 straight years of being 8-8. So doing 8, if you go over and they have 8, you lose money. If you go under and they have 8, you still lose money. So it's such a casino move, and I'll go even on that for their 4th straight year of 8-8, but I wouldn't win any money, and I'm pretty confident on that. I'll go house. Nah, I'll go Carr. I'm pretty confident. Because Sean Lee just went down. There goes your defense. Des Bryant, Tony Romo. As much as people want to hate Tony Romo, he's the real deal. He went to my dad's college, Eastern Illinois, represent. He is a very, very, very good quarterback, and people just give him flack because he doesn't play as well in the clutch situations. However, he had made several game-winning drives last year, but nobody talked about it. Now, on to the Kansas City Chiefs, who absolutely choked in the postseason. They won 11 wins, and they just choked. They're at 8 wins. I'm going to go the over. And here's why. They're still a good team. This team is a very good regular season team, but once you put them in the postseason, they just crack. But I definitely have them winning over eight games, and I'll put that as a house or a car, somewhere in the middle between house and money. They got a lot of good people, a lot of good pieces there, and I think that's a really good bet to go over 8 on that. Next, we got the Miami Dolphins at 8. What can you say about the Dolphins? They had a lot of things go wrong for them. The whole bully situation with Jonathan Martin and all that going on. 8 is so tricky. 8. I'll go over. I did see signs of improvement with that team. I felt like it galvanized that team, that whole bully thing. It's like us against the world, and they almost made the playoffs. And I think they're just going to improve from it as they did. They're just going to improve their season that they had last year. And I'll take the over, and I'll bet a car on that. Next up, we got the Chargers. I'll go over. Put them at 9. You got Phillip Rivers. With Phillip Rivers, you should win at least 9 games, barring an injury, of course. That's why I wouldn't even bet these until at least the end of preseason. So at least you've seen them in preseason. You bet them in June. Say somebody gets injured in, OTAs or training camp. Then what? Then you're screwed. You just want to make sure all the injuries are out of the way, so then you can bet them come the regular season. Or you can bet them now, so the wins don't change. It's your choice. Now we got the Arizona Cardinals at 7.5. This team is really good. I'll take the over, and I'll bet a car on that. The team really improved. I'll say they were the best team who didn't make the playoffs last year, and they definitely could make the playoffs. Next up, the Texans. I'll take over on 7.5. They're not ready yet. They waited till the 5th round to draft a quarterback, and I don't really think you're going to put all your eggs in the Case Keenum basket. If you're doing that, you might as well, go home. 7.5 wins. I'll take the under, and I'll bet a car. Andre Johnson's unhappy. You got that whole debacle. 7.5 wins. You should take the under on that. Next, the Giants. here was that team I was talking about. Look out for this team. You know, I teased you in the beginning of this show when we were talking about the Giants. I mean, when we were talking about the Cowboys. Look out for us, or the Eagles. I was talking about. Look out for a surprise team later on in this show. This is it. This is the Giants. I'm definitely going over, and I know how I said the Bears would be the last house pick. This is for real the last house pick. And here's why. It seems like every year that there's a bad season for the Giants, they turn that into a good season the next year. This team, you know, always seems to rally over the bad season they had the previous year. And, you know, 7.5 wins, take the over. The Redskins. No, I'm sorry. The Rams are up next, 7.5. I'll take the over as well. This is a very tough division, but four good, very, very good teams that are going to win at least 8 wins. At least. All the teams are going to win at least 8 games. And I'll go Carr on the Rams. They definitely had the... Oh my gosh. They made the RG3 trade. They went... They were the better team in that transaction. They got the better players, and they did wonders last year. And they did wonders again with, you know, the second pick in the draft was supposed to be the Redskins. Nope, it's the Rams, because they traded their 3 years of first-round picks to the Rams. How stupid. And they got Greg Robinson, a very good offensive tackle from Auburn. Some other players that they got in the Redskins deal. Zach Stacy. He's turned out to be a really good player. Stedman Bailey. Tavon Austin. Need I go on? Yeah. I wonder who did better in that move. The Rams. Just the Redskins being the Redskins. Next up, we got the Redskins at 7.5. Go under. Go under. This, you know, not every NFC East team's going to do well. That's just how the divisions worked out. There's going to be maybe 2 teams winning 9, and everybody else is going to be bad. That's just how it is. You know, there's going to be some teams doing well, some teams doing bad, but everyone's going to be good. And I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to bet a car, because this team is, you know, you might have had Deshaun Jackson, but I don't know. I just don't like this team. This team's not good. And, you know, your defense needs to get better. And I don't like the coach that they hired. They should fire somebody else. So there's that. The New York Jets, 7 wins. Even. And I'll go Carr. The Jets, you know, they got rid of Mark Sanchez. Woohoo! They are a team that still focuses on defense when they should be focusing on wide receivers. You know, that's what happens when you have a defensive coach doing that. And here's my surprise team of the whole show. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They did wonders in the draft. They're probably the second best team, you know, win-wise. You know, did so many good things in the draft. You know, I say they did. They were up there with the 49ers. And I'll go over. They got Mike Evans, and they had Josh McCown, the player who did well for the Bears when Jay Cutler got injured, and so I'll pick the over, and I'll bet a car on that. We're almost done. So if you've watched this whole show, I want to thank you. But I doubt a lot of people have watched this whole thing, because right now we're at 50 minutes. So for any of you people who have stood for that 50 minutes, I want to thank you. So now we go on to the Tennessee Titans, who are at 7 wins, and I'll take the under. This team is not close. They have a unproven quarterback and a coach who is in his first year coaching the team, Ken Hunt. I just don't like this team, and I'll take under, and I'll bet a car on that, and a little bit in between. Next up, we got the Bills. The Bills made the ballsiest move in the draft, going up to get Sammy Watkins, and I think it was a move that you needed to make. Now, are they done? Is this meaning that they just needed one more piece and that's it? This team is almost there. They got some really good pieces on the defensive front. Mario Williams, Kyle Anderson, Kiko Alonso, rookie last year. They got some really good pieces. And you pair those up with Robert Woods, you're looking at a good combination there. So I'll take the over on that, and I'll bet a car. Over 6.5 wins. That should be easy money. Next, we got the Cleveland Browns, Johnny Cleveland. So you got the over. I'll take the under. Johnny Manziel's gonna get killed. He's gonna get absolutely killed. I just can't see him winning more than 6 games. You can win 6 games, take the under, and you'll win. So I'll take the under on that, and I'll bet the car. Next, we got the Minnesota Vikings. I'll take the under on that, and that's 6 wins. You got a rookie quarterback, Christian Ponder, plus Adrian Peterson. You can't tell Adrian Peterson, "Can you win this game for us, please? Can you win this season for us?" 2 seasons ago, Adrian Peterson brought them to the playoffs by himself. It was him, and that's it. So I'll take the under on that. Put him at 5 wins. 5. Next, we got the Oakland Raiders. This is another one of surprise teams. This should be easy money. They made some good moves in the offseason. Justin Tuck and others. So I like the over. And I'll bet a car. And lastly, last team, and then this will be this, and then that. This is the last game, last team. Jacksonville Jaguars 4.5. I like the over because they made some good moves, getting some wide receivers. Allen Robinson from Penn State. Good wide receivers, and it's should be good. So maybe 5 wins. So I hope you liked my new NFL show, NFL All Access, not to be confused with the NFL Network show, Total Access. So I'll probably have some more shows, more NFL All Access shows. So make sure you watch these on YouTube, and I'll be having more. So subscribe on my YouTube page. Add me, or you can watch these on Facebook. So this is goodbye for now, but I'll see you very soon. All right, goodbye.